All right, so I had a question from a teacher asking me how to make essentially an assessment or a quiz inside of a Google form. If he wanted the students to fill out a Google form, how would he make it so that he can make it worth points and stuff like that? So there's lots of ways to do assessments. So I'm going to show you how to do it with a Google form. And there's some benefits to using a Google form. There's also some drawbacks too. So the first thing you're going to do is click on New. You're going to go to More, and then you're going to go to Google Form. All right, and we're just going to pick a blank form for this one. So I'm going to use this time too to kind of explore some of the feature sets of a Google form that you may or may not know. All right, so the very first thing I want to do, and keep in mind you can do quiz inside of PowerSchool Learning as well. And if you prefer to do it that way, just send me an email and I can send that to you. But the very first thing I want to do with a Google form is I want to change my settings. And by clicking on that gear right up here, and then clicking quizzes. All right, and then I'm going to tell it to make this a quiz. Then I have some examples right here. Release grade immediately after each submission, later after a manual review. This one I would recommend if you are going through and asking kids to turn in, I don't know, like short answer, essay, that kind of thing. Things that cannot be graded automatically. And respondents can see missed questions, correct answers, and point values. And for example, if you're going to do a quiz and let them take the quiz multiple times, obviously letting them see the correct answers would be something that you wouldn't like, so you remove that. Click Save. All right. Now we can change some of the background stuff. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with this, but I prefer this color right here. I'm going to name this form Demonstration. All right, so one of the things to know is that we have your question right here, and this one's multiple choice. Now you click on drop down, it gives you plenty of options as to what sort of question it is. So usually when you type it in, it does try to guess what your question is. So I'm going to put first and last name because of course you want to know who's doing it. And then it also helps too is if inside the form you tell it that you want to see how to collect the email addresses. And you can get to this just by clicking on the gear. And you can also limit to one response as well, meaning the student can't take the test over and over again. They can only see, they can only take it once. Okay, so I put first and last name, and you may have noticed that this changed it to short answer here. So I'm going to click on this, and I can type in date submitted. And instantly pulls up date. And then I can do a couple of other things. All right, so say I want a multiple choice question. So I would type in, which is the correct answer? And as you can see, it is guessing as to what I want. So you probably saw it change a couple of times. So I'm going to do option 1 and click add another option. Option 2. Option 1. Oh, add option, sorry. Option 2, add option, option 3, add option, option 4. All right, so right now I have just a multiple choice one, told it what my options were, and then you can see right here it says answer key. Now if I click on answer key, what I can do two things. First, I can tell it how many points it's worth, so I can tell it this is worth 5 points. And then I can also tell it which one are the correct answers. So now it knows which one's the correct answer, and if the student clicks on it, it will tell it's the right answer. Okay, now if I end up accidentally adding an option that I don't want, I can just click on the X and remove it. Okay, now I can also do sections as well. So I could say multiple choice, And I can say, oh, sorry, I typed that in the wrong spot. I can say true and false. Oh. Now, if it goes through and it gives me a question that I didn't want, like this one right here, I can delete it. I can also take this right here. Let's say I want to put this in multiple choice. I can just drag it right into multiple choice, and then it goes to multiple choice. Okay, and then true or false. I can go and do this as well. Now, I can click add all. It automatically does true and false, an answer key, and then tell it which one is the correct answer. Okay. Now, the one thing that you may also want to do is turn on the required switch. That means that it will not allow the student to enter in this form until they fill out that particular part. Now, we've looked at the majority of the questions here. One other thing that I want to point out is that you can add images and add video too. Sometimes I find adding a video is useful, especially if a student has never gone through and done one of these before. You can only add, as far as I know, you can only add from YouTube. So I'm going to paste the URL here, click select, and then it makes a little video for me. I can, right now it's left aligned, I can tell it to go to the center, and there it is, and this is where it will show up in the form. Now if you want to see what it is that your students will see, you can click on preview right up here, and this is what your students will see. Now, one of the things you may notice is that I have a random question here. That was my bad. So if I click on the pencil, it takes me back to the point where I can change things for it. Demonstration. So that was an accident right there. So I delete it, and then I go through and click on preview, and it will show it to me. And you may notice it says next right there. That's because we made different sections. Different sections automatically create different pages. And so we'll say that's today's date. So that's nice and easy. I can click play and watch it. I can click next. All right. And then it brings me to the next one. Okay? Okay. All right. One other thing that you can do. When you add questions, they do have a matching questions. Okay? So if you go through and do multiple choice grid, and then you go through and do Q1 for question 1, Q2, Q3, and then in the column you can add multiple columns as well. Okay? Now here's the thing, when you go into the answer key, oh, I duplicated it on accident. When you go into the answer key, you have to indicate every single one that's the right answer. Okay? All right. This one is the one I don't like very much. It's the one I'm least fond of. All right. Let's see. Oh, you can import questions too. I haven't messed with that functionality, so I'm not going to try to teach you guys about it. Okay. So now let's say we have everything in there. How do you know how your students did? Well, let's go ahead and click on responses. So if you have responses, right now there's 0 responses. So let's say that I answered this really quickly, which I'll do super fast just so you can see what it looks like. All right, so I've submitted it, and if I'm a student, I can click View Score, and it will show me how I did. Now, unsurprisingly, I didn't do very well. I got 2 out of 13 right, which once again, not super surprising because I wasn't really even paying attention to my answers and there's no real questions here. But now you, the teacher, can see that they have a response. And this page is interesting because it will show you what your average number of answers is. So if there was multiple students who've taken it, you'll see where students are most likely to fall on your test, which I think is a pretty good one. However, this is not the best way to view individual students. So right now there's only one response. If there were multiple responses, it would let you look at individuals. You can see that here it says 1, and then you could click through and look at each one. But like I said, if you're scoring a large group of students, I personally wouldn't want to go through this. So what I can do is I can create a new spreadsheet, and it will put the answers into a spreadsheet, which I find much easier. You can go through and sort them alphabetically. You can put periods in and then sort them by their class period. So period 1 students would all stick together and period 2 students would all stick together, so on and so forth. And then the other thing that you might notice is that it tells you what the score is right here. So in this case, I got 2 out of 13. Correct. So you'll be able to sort through the students and easily see what grade they got. All right, so that's a really brief overview of this. Now keep in mind, before you use this, there are other tools too, such as Naiku. Other tools would be in PowerSchool Learning. You can make an assessment. I've done recordings on that as well. So it's kind of whatever is your preference. I feel like all of them have their strengths and weaknesses. I use this one a lot just because I'm familiar with it, but you know, there are some drawbacks to it, like you having to enter everything in. But a lot of these assessment tools are all pretty good. All right, that's it. Bye.